Good evening. Welcome to our presentation titled Business Distress. This is part of our business program at the Champaign Public Library. I'm Eva Liu, a reference librarian here. Thank you all for joining us tonight. I would like to introduce our presenter for the evening, Warner Ling. Warner is a certified public accountant. He started his career in the international accounting firm, working with global teams and Fortune 500 clients. We are honored to have him share his expertise with us. And please help me welcome Warner.
Thank you. Thank you, Eva. All right, thank you all for coming. I'm very excited to have you guys here and to talk to you guys about our very interesting topic, business distress. Once again, my name is Warner Lin. I'm a CPA, and I'm also a certified turnaround analyst with the Turnaround Management Association. I'm the managing principal of my firm, Extension of. We offer fractional CFO services, and we function as an extension of our clients. So without further ado, let's dive right in. First, I want to start off with a quote from Charlie Munger. And it goes, "All I want to know is where I'm going to die, so I'll never go there." And I think this is a very good quote that really represents what I'm trying to pull off with this presentation. I'm trying to enlighten business owners and entrepreneurs about the ways that your business can get into trouble and how to avoid that. But furthermore, I want to present this to entrepreneurs and business owners who may be considering starting a business, because then you can use this information to kind of determine whether or not you have a viable business or whether or not you want to pivot to a different idea. Now, I also want to point out another, let's see here. I also want to point out that business distress follows a very well-documented pattern. Most companies, fail to act until their options have dramatically narrowed. So typically, there are causes that affect a business and that cause it to be in distress. A lot of times, it could be one thing, but typically, you see multiple things happening all at once. From these causes, a business starts going down the path towards distress, and there are emerging symptoms and issues that come up. And these symptoms and issues kind of affect and permeate throughout all parts of the business. So a business is really an interdependent, it's an interdependent group of systems. And so when one system is struggling, there's a ripple effect throughout the rest of the business. And I'll show you why, or I'll show you the different symptoms that may pop up in a later slide. Now, after that, if the symptoms come up, but management delays their actions, and there are multiple reasons why. Some might be information failures, others might be more of psychological failures, like not acknowledging the problem, being in denial. Here's what happens. A lot of times, the options that you can execute on, they start to become narrower and less as as time moves on. So there's a quote someone said to me that no decision is still a decision. So it makes a lot of sense in the context of business distress, because if, let's say, your business is losing money and you are hesitant to make a decision, you are slow to make a decision, or you are just in shock and just kind of stunned, and time moves on, then the status quo of your current business's condition is to continuously losing money. So no decision is still a decision, and delaying action is an issue. But let's say there's a manager or a business owner that continues to delay their action. The eventuality is that it falls into severe distress, and typically that would end up being a business closure, bankruptcy, liquidation, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. So let's talk about causes. I wanted to highlight some very interesting studies about CEO impact on the performance of the business. There are several studies, and none of them have a very strong consensus, and they all measure things slightly differently. But a CEO or a business leader while they may have full executive authority over their business, they don't have complete control over the outcomes of that business. Of the several studies that I've found, some studies indicate that, let's say, a business owner doesn't have much control over the performance of the business, all the way to as high as 44%. So even though the results are mixed and the conclusions are mixed, what we know for sure is that it's not 100%. And why is that? Well, your business doesn't operate in a vacuum, right? It operates within an external environment that affects how your business performs. Example would be the size of your industry. Another example might be, the location, the number of people that you are able to serve in a particular location. So that there are external forces that kind of limit, the size of your industry. And then internally, if there are changes externally, internally you may not be able to adapt the business to make it thrive or even survive in a new environment. And so we'll talk about these causes in a little bit more detail. So I've outlined 5 general causes that are external to the company that affects how a business may perform. One thing to note that while these environmental factors are outside of the business owner's control, they are in the business owner's responsibilities to anticipate. So the first one is economic conditions. Business owners do not control interest rates. They do not control inflation. And so when these things happen, the economy changes, it's something that a business owner has to react to, right? They can't impact the economy themselves. Most businesses, unless you're very large. Competition. So, you're operating in a particular industry. You have no say in who gets to also start a competing business. You have no say in how your competitors run their business and how they may take market share from you. And so competition can be very rough, and it's not something you control. Shifts in consumer demand. So a lot of industries depend on consumer preferences. Take fashion, for example. In today's world, there's fast fashion. So one trendy outfit or style is out of fashion maybe in one season. And so being able to adapt your business to the shifts in demand is very important. And the customer preferences, you don't have control over what they will end up preferring to do. Technological changes. We can cite a lot of technological changes in the past. For example, Uber, when Uber became big and went into New York, a lot of the yellow taxi cabs ended up going away. In my recent trip to New York, I saw a few taxi cabs around, but most of the time they were just Uber drivers. And then regulatory changes and litigation. The regulation and the law and the government really has a big impact on how you operate your business. These days, we have an administration that changed up the global economic environment with the policies that he's pushing, and that's not something a small business owner or most business owners or even large businesses can necessarily control. And so you're operating under a regulatory environment where you might have to be more reactive. If you have to be more reactive, what happens internally that prevents you from adapting? So the first one is more about board of directors, and most small business owners don't really have a board of directors. So we'll move on from there. But organizational rigidity really inhibits a company's ability to adapt to the environment. It's really common for a small business. For example, you're a retail store, right? Typical leases are 5 years with a option to renew another 5 years. But let's say you do really well in the first year, but the second year things really change and things turn out for the worse, right? It's not so easy to just walk out of a lease. You've signed an agreement, and so there's a little bit of rigidity embedded in there, and you have these fixed costs that you have to pay monthly. right? So being able to plan for some flexibility, it's not exactly something that you can just do and snap your finger and have a change made. Next is your finance function. So finance and accounting is really how you keep score of how your business is doing. And without a strong finance function, you're really kind of flying blind, right? You as a business, you have to manage working capital. You have to make sure that your cash comes in so you can pay your bills. And so a finance function that allows you to manage your cash flow, right, and reports on the financial conditions of your business is very important. Lacking that, you're kind of making business decisions and paying bills or making purchases on the fly, shooting from the hip, and you might put yourself in distress inadvertently. So a finance function is very key. Next, you have balance sheet issues. So some businesses can choose to put on debt. And so there are times where debt is healthy, debt is good, but there are times where taking on too much debt can kind of inhibit your business, make you insolvent. And that is an internal decision that when you've made that decision, you may not necessarily be able to pull out of if you just don't have the capital to just pay off the principal. And another one that's is pretty common in small business is poor management. So poor management really does throw off a business. You can have the best manager and then you swap them out with a poor manager, and they can tank the business really quickly, right? They may not even some managers may not even be vigilant and in touch with the demands of the market. They may not have an awareness of why customers buy from them, right? And make decisions to push their customers away. And so poor management is an internal factor that determines whether or not a business that causes distress in a business. Okay, so those are some causes. And now we're going to move on to symptoms. So when a business, when a cause happens, some symptoms start emerging or some symptoms are actively there. And so we're going to talk about symptoms, and typically these symptoms, as mentioned earlier, they permeate throughout all the business. But we're going to talk about them discretely in different functions or categories. So first is financial distress. When your business is in distress, it's most easily observable when you pull out your financial statements and you look at your liquidity and you look at your solvency, and also profitability. So basically your balance sheet, cash flow statement, and P&L. Liquidity and solvency, it's basically different ways. One is liquidity is short term, whereas solvency is more long term. But it's about whether or not you can pay your bills as you come due. So liquidity, can you pay that invoice that your supplier sent you? And then solvency is more like long term. So you have debt, the principal is coming due. Can you pay that, or are your asset and cash values not high enough to cover the principal that's about to be due? Profitability. So profitability is important, right? Because you can also see the margins of your business, and you can see that as it's trending downwards, your business may be deteriorating. Additionally, you may have losses. You may have incurred losses, and that's not trending in the right direction either. And so these are symptoms that are obvious, that are easier to spot than all the other symptoms. Operationally, you can have symptoms and issues show up as well when your business is getting into distress. A big one is quality. So you may provide a service, or you may provide a product for your business, your clients or your customers. And if the quality starts going down, you start seeing that in your customer service departments with complaints, with returns. In operations, you can see there, things that may have businesses that may have a lot of equipment or maybe trucks. Those stop being maintained because there's not as much cash flow. Investments in the future starts dropping. So you may not invest in, let's say, new equipment, right? So you may not buy more trucks if you're looking to you're hoping to grow, but you may not have the funds to buy more trucks. You may have production issues or operational issues from how you provide the service or create the product, right? So you may have lowering quality from just your production methods. So these are some symptoms that you can see that show up. Customer demands. So I'll talk about restaurants in the context of customer demands, because I think the restaurant industry is a very good example of what happens when customer demand weakens. So lately, a lot of restaurants have been struggling, and it's because things have become less affordable overall, and so people have been dining at restaurants less and less. So obviously, sales volumes are dropping. But furthermore, when people do dine out, they're not buying the appetizers as much, or they're not spending money on the drinks as much. So the overall order of what gets spent at a restaurant goes down as well. And then customer satisfaction, it's always been challenging in the restaurant industry. It's always highly competitive. But when customers come in and they compare what they're getting now to what they're getting like a year or 2 years ago, they're not really seeing as much bang for their buck as they used to. And so, having those expectations of like how things were better in the past and seeing what they're getting now, it's really challenging to appease them. And so, as an example, the restaurant industry is really is really struggling in the sales volume, customer satisfaction, and price categories of customer demand. The workforce issues. So when a business is struggling and employees get a sense that it is, they start having low morale. They start wondering, whether or not they're going to lose their job, and they start worrying about that. They're not as productive. The ones that are really worried and the ones that really need a paycheck to cover bills, they're going to be flying to safety, right? They're going to be looking for other jobs. So employees may leave, and you may have higher turnover. And then a lot of distressed companies have trouble affording employees as well. So rather than paying market, they may post up a job and make an offer that's under market. And so retention becomes an issue, but then so does recruiting, right? There are roles that can't be filled. And so workforce issues really do come up. Vendor issues. So as a business becomes more and more distressed, they start pushing off paying the bills. So the payables age more and more, and it can eventually get to the point where the bills just aren't paid. And how the vendor responds to that, it really depends on who they are, the industry, and all that. But a lot of vendors, what they can do is convert the principal of what is still outstanding to an interest-bearing note. Other vendors stop giving out credit and ask for cash on delivery rather than send you an invoice at the end of the month. And then other vendors, they just cut you off completely. And so, trouble with vendor relationships are a symptom or an indication that your business might be in distress. Capital market symptoms. So if you can't get fundraising, if your business is in distress and your cash balance is dwindling more and more, and you need that cash injection in order to turn that business around, if you're having trouble getting getting a bank to give you a loan when they otherwise would have in a different scenario, then that's a clear sign that your business is struggling. If you can't get equity investors, or if there are resignations from the board of directors, those are clear signs. Next, leadership issues, this one's a big one because a lot of managers have to navigate through the turnaround. Now, one thing to note, when a business has very good management information systems, the top level managers really do have a overall holistic view of how the business is doing. If they are not confident about the future of the business, you may have retention issues with top level management. They may be leaving for better jobs and more stable businesses because, after all, people have jobs because they want the stability. Now, a lot of managers or executives, if they do see distress, they may want to stay and they may want to work through that. But that also isn't something that they can pull off on their own. They have to work with other executives and other leaders in the business in order to pull off a turnaround. And so when other executives and other leaders are distracted, unwilling, or maybe they have agency issues where they possibly work against the best interest of the company, a good manager is gonna be like, well, I try my best and also kind of leave. And so in scenarios like that, it's very challenging, and leadership really does need to be aligned and have a willingness to acknowledge a problem. Other issues might be business planning. So a lot of small business owners, they don't have a very in-depth business plan. Some business owners don't even have a business plan at all. And so when they get into trouble, rather than creating a business plan and really diagnosing the situation, they continue shooting from the hip and hoping something will work. And so that's a big symptom of the business going worse, getting into more and more distress. Okay, so we're going to talk about delayed actions because because in order for a business leader to act and turn around a business, they have to be aware of what's going on. And the first most important thing is to make sure that you have correctly implemented your management information system, right? And it's not just buying software. It's also like the people involved in operating the system, right? So you can't just buy QuickBooks and say, yeah, I have that, or you can't just buy QuickBooks and then have a chart of accounts and then that's it, you're done. You have to continuously operate and manage the information systems that help inform managerial decision. So part of that is making sure that your financials are produced timely. So you have to have your bookkeeper or accountant close the books on a timely basis and have that communicated to management. Additionally, there might be other KPIs that aren't included in the financial statements. So something like customer satisfaction. That's not exactly an accounting measurement, but these are other KPIs that really do matter. And so when you have KPIs and when you have a full picture of financials and it's accurate and communicated timely, then that is up to management to decide whether or not they're going to acknowledge that the problem exists and do something about that. So why wouldn't they do something about that? Or what could inhibit them from doing anything about that? So there's a few reasons, and this isn't an exactly complete list, but 3 that I've come up with is just the ignorance of underperformance. So for example, let's say you don't have a benchmark for how your business is doing compared to the industry that it operates in. Well, how do you know you're doing well? How do you know you're doing poorly, right? So without a competitive benchmark, you may show profits, but you may be underperforming substantially relative to the norm. Other issues might be rationalizing away a downward trend. So you can say that, oh yeah, it's just seasonal. We're in Champaign, so our business environment is highly dependent on students. And so, when summer comes around, you can say, well, things will pick back up when the students come back in August or September. So you rationalize away, or you say that it's just normal, and you just kind of close your eyes to it. It is challenging too, because I will admit that period to period, month to month, quarter to quarter, year to year, there's some normal level of variability in your financial statements. You're not going to have the same revenue year over year, so there's some degree of uncertainty as to whether or not a downward trend is temporary or permanent. But there comes a point where it's gone down low enough where you think there's an issue here. There's a real issue that needs to be addressed. Other things might be conflict aversion. So the challenging thing about a downturn might be that when you have less customers, you have less revenue coming in, you may have to cut costs, and unfortunately, some of those costs are the employees that you so dearly want to take care of. And so it's very challenging, especially if you have a personal relationship with them and you care about their well-being, to have to terminate their employment. It's not an easy decision, but it is kind of it is a tough one where you have to think about whether or not how many jobs you're going to save rather than how many jobs people are going to lose. Another one is avoidance and self-preservation. For some people, right, admitting failure is very hard, and so some business owners may not want to, take action, drastic action that represents that you're going through a turnaround, because then it's like an admission of personal failure, right? And not only that, when you take drastic action, you can't do it in a vacuum. So you have to bring people along, your team. You have to get people aligned, the vendors maybe, and so being able to having to talk to your vendors and other people about that, it doesn't come easy for a lot of managers and a lot of business owners. But it is something that has to happen, because if you leave it unaddressed, then each month that goes by, each quarter that goes by, you have less cash. Cash is the lifeblood of your business, and if you run out of it, then it's game over, right? And what happens is you can either go into bankruptcy, or you can voluntarily. Business owners can voluntarily take their own funds to pay off whatever debts they have and voluntarily close and liquidate their business. But let's say you're not that kind of business owner, right? Let's say the symptoms show up, your information systems are strong, and it shows up, and you are ready to act. What happens? What happens then? Well, you take action, and it's gonna be rough, but you have more options than if you delayed it, right? And because you have more options, you have more leeway as to how you may operate and turn around the business, and your chances of recovery are greatly improved. So what happens? So let me provide you an example stakeholder plan to help you jumpstart your business. So you have to manage all your stakeholders. You have debt holders, which are your banks, your vendors, customers, and employees. What's foundational to these interactions is having a viable business plan, right? You have to go to your bank and you have to tell them, hey, maybe can you help me? Can you allow me to delay payments? Maybe push off the due date of the principal, or maybe take a 10-year term loan and shift it into a 15-year term loan. And they might tell you that they want to increase the interest rates, but if the cash flow is low enough so that you can actually maintain that, it's a negotiation that needs to take place. But they'll only consider it if you have a viable business plan to talk to them with. With vendors, a lot of vendors who you haven't paid would have become debt holders themselves, right? Because you owe them for all the invoices that haven't been paid. Why should they continue to supply you? Well, you have to inspire confidence in them and make them think that you're going to be a long-term viable customer in the future. And so so talking to them and convincing them to continue to supply you is really vital to the success of your business. Because after all, if you have no suppliers, you have no inputs to create the products that you create. Well, you have no products and you can't get customers. Employees. In a downturn, employees are worried about their jobs, right? So when you cut employees, the remaining employees are also going to wonder whether or not they're going to lose their jobs as well. Now, for them to stick around and for them to be committed, you also have to inspire them to be confident in the plan of your business. And so you have to communicate urgency, communicate confidence, maybe provide them a bit of comfort that the layoffs and the terminations are done, and hope that they'll stick around and work hard and push through. With customers, depending on the industry whether or not you have a long-term contract with a particular customer who's worried about your business viability, you may have to talk to them and present your business plans. But a lot of small business owners who cater to the general public, they don't really have to worry about negotiating or discussing a business plan with them. For those customers, for those businesses that in those industries, you just basically have to raise prices and cut out unprofitable customers, or maybe cut out unprofitable lines of businesses. It's something to explore. Now, in the middle of all this are turnaround professionals. Obviously, the business owner and the management team can do all these things themselves, but a lot of turnaround professionals help in stakeholder negotiations and represent the businesses for them. They fill leadership gaps. So if a management team is overwhelmed, or there's a lack of a competency or skill set in the current management team that is needed to turn around the business, a turnaround professional can fill that gap. Furthermore, if your leadership is leaving, it might be challenging to find another strong leader to come in, a strong leader to permanently fill that spot, because once they come in and they have access to all the information, they might start wondering whether or not the business is going to be viable themselves, and they might want to leave too. And so a turnaround professional who is there on a temporary basis, who operates with clients and is aware that that a turnaround is just temporary and isn't a permanent solution, is able to fill that gap for a time period. Now, that's about all the information I want to present to you. I just want to let you know that my name is Warner Lin again. The firm that I operate is called Extension of, where I operate as the extension of my clients. I provide fractional CFO services, and if you have any questions, any issues, and if you want to talk about your business turnaround, I'd be happy to chat.